Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Snark. We have a very special guest joining us on the feed. But in the meantime, let me tell you what we're talking about today. We're talking about Bravolebs, the dark side of reality TV, The Valley, Love Island USA, because we have to talk about what's going on right now, and our dark energy objects and light energy objects of the week. Let's do it. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Snarkbait Pod. Sophie is on vacation. She's living her best European life. And we have the man, the myth, the legend, trigger warning, Ryan Bailey. He's a pop culture commentator, an actor, host of So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. You're literally a Bravo celebrity yourself. At this point, I'm so honored
That's
to have
not
you
a
on the
good
show.
thing. Christy, that's not a good thing. No, 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 no. By the way, yeah, trigger warning, guys. Trigger warning. I told Christy before that I'm so sorry that I'm here. I know how it is to love the dynamic of Sophie and Christy, or, like I understand that this is already a disappointment. So I will do my best to try to make this as easygoing as possible.
No, we're so excited to have you on board. And Sophie and I were thinking, like, what better co-host to have in lieu of Sophie's absence than Ryan Bailey, because she guest hosts on your show every Monday for the pop
Yeah.
culture roundup. So for me, you're a Love Island commentator. I'm a Love Island commentator. We're both watching season
And she's
7.
not a Love Island commentator. She has stayed out of the fray. And in weeks like this, you're like, that must be heaven. That must be heaven to like not know or care what is going on that island.
It's taking over my mental health, and I can't even begin to describe how important the show has become to me, but not in a good way.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I'm
like
saying.
bad. It's like a bad thing.
I mean, that's the thing is that like we've almost fooled ourselves into thinking that good reality television nowadays is psychological warfare slash torture and something that you would bring up to a therapist.
Yeah. No, it's something I will need to bring up with my therapist when it comes to Sierra. But before we dive into all the things on our notes today, I want to ask you, you've been everywhere. You were on like Bravo commercials. You did like a carpool karaoke, right? You're
It was
doing
like the Valley van experience with the cast members of the Valley. And I didn't realize you can find that on the Peacock app when you do the Valley, but I thought it was just for like Instagram and TikTok. And they paired you up with Bravo, the Valley cast members, but they didn't tell us who it was that we were paired up with until like a couple days
what?
before. So when I got asked, I was like, "Oh, of course, yeah, I'm totally down for this." And I thought there was no way that they would ever put me with like Jax. I was like, "There's no way, just no way." And of course, I'm with Jax Schwartz and Jesse Lally, and that was. I even told this to Sophie, like every time something like sort of good happens, there's always like this huge grain of salt that you can't fully enjoy it because that experience just walking in, because I was like, oh shoot. And by the way, Jax has put on like 20 pounds of muscle. He looks like a pro wrestler. So I was like, he's in the front seat with me. I was like, oh man, he could like literally just hit me at any point, like just knock me out if he wanted to.
Wait, so you were in a car with Jax and Jesse
Yeah.
Lally. Can you ask me,
And
because you talk
Schwartz.
about, and Schwartz, who I actually really love.
Yeah.
I know
Oh, he was
I'll
great.
get,
He was that good buffer in the car.
I love him. So people often say, especially with this season of The Valley, Jesse and Jax are nefarious energy, dark energy. And we talk about dark energy objects on the show often. What was the energy that they were emitting? And was it dark?
No, no, it was a lot. It was light and breezy. No, I mean, immediately Jax hits you with, well, he hit me with do you make fun of me a lot? And I was like, I didn't even know I was like, I think I said, I've been critical in the past. I said, but, and this is true. Like I did like a whole episode when he did that Alex Baskin Hot Mic podcast where I went through the entire episode and I tried to be as fair as possible, realizing that there is a real issue with Jax. The thing that's the issue that I think a lot of the audience deals with is that we've been quote unquote studying this man since 2013. And so when
Yes.
you see so much of the same repeated behavior, it gets a little emotionally exhausting. And then it gets to a point where, the viewers, myself included, we feel like we're in control and we need to make these decisions. And like everybody's calling for the firing of Jax Taylor. And I just don't think that sometimes is realistic. Like we're only in charge as, so much. And sometimes when we give it so much attention and so many clicks and so much anger, I feel like sometimes that's like, well, let's keep them for another 3 seasons. any attention is good attention when it
Yes.
comes to reality TV. I've learned over the years.
Yeah, and I keep thinking I always harken it back to the early seasons of Beverly Hills and how dark so
Yes.
much of the behavior was between Kim Richards and Russell and Taylor. And at the end of the day, like they continued to cast Kim Richards and still really do, albeit it's not as extreme with her behaviors, but it's like I really don't think the Valley is ever going to uncast Jax. Is that kind of what you're alluding to or what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I kind of believe that. They might, like in this last episode, we got him down to like a FaceTime call and swimming in the pool. They might bring him down to like a friend of kind of energy. But like to your point, I mean, you're so dead on. I just rewatched the second season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills a couple months ago because I had been saying how dark the valley was. And then I watched the second season of Beverly Hills and I was like, wait a sec, hold the phone. This is the darkest thing I've ever seen. And
Yes.
I watched it originally the first time. I'd already
Right.
seen that season. And
Right.
then this weekend, this is how I celebrated the fourth, we were watching old episodes of Real Housewives of New Jersey, like season two, season three.
Yep.
And when you get to those reunions, that's another completely unhinged darkness. So it's always been there. I think what's
Yes.
changed is the viewers.
100%. After 2020, the way that we view things in such a more critical lens, which is good, we're like clutching our pearls, seeing Jax's behavior, but it's like, how is this really any different than how Russell's was towards Taylor Armstrong or the things that Camille was saying on national television?
I mean, Camille was admitting, no, I mean, Taylor was admitting to being physically abused, to having her jaw broke at one point. Like,
Hmm.
on top of all of the insanity with Kim and her sister Kyle, where Kim, obviously is dealing with some real emotional trauma, which the show mined for that. Now, I'm not going to say the show used her, but it definitely rode that wave. And that's
Yes.
the more I get into this, I mean, I guess we're all considered pop culture commentators. And sometimes that's why it's great when I can watch a show and not cover a show. So I can go back to that person I was just eating cheese in my underwear, watching these shows and like laughing or going, that's horrific, and not
Yeah.
really having this huge discussion about it. Everything these days is a discussion. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I just don't know where we go. And
Yes.
if we just end up destroying everything, like even like we're about to talk about Love Island, I'm sure. And it's really in this kind of weird moral quandary that it puts the audience in. And we're really conflicted about it. I mean, Love Island
Yes.
should just be called Problematic Island at this point because
Yes. Right.
legitimately it seems like every person up there that we're watching, you could go back in their past and find something.
Yes. Yeah, I think that it's really interesting because on the outline that I put together today, it's like the Valley, Love Island, and there's so much darkness within both shows. And I think Love Island is obviously most topical, and we'll get to that. But I actually want to double click into the Valley just because we're talking about
But isn't
Jax and the
we, Chrissy, isn't
darkness.
the Valley kind of like Love Island, but 15 years older and with more clothes on?
Yes, in children.
Yeah, and see that's the thing that horrifies me the most about the Valley
Yes.
was like I'm used to watching Jax do these kind of moves that are horrific. What I'm not used to is watching then somebody pick up a kid in the middle of the scene or talk about a kid, and then my mind goes down this path of because I was talking about this on my show last week. I was like, remember when you were a kid, how much you picked up on energy,
100%. You wouldn't not vocalize what you were seeing, but I have memories in my brain that stick with me. And
Yes.
yes, and it can be traumatizing. Yeah.
And I think pop culture lovers, especially, are a very sensitive type of person. And that's why we're so attracted to these things because we are so interested in human behavior. And then you go down this other kind of rabbit hole of like, especially then Love Island and that you see it on the Valley are these people that are gunning for slots on these shows, even though you have to mine your own personal trauma and really destroy things. Like I knew, I said this when the Valley got announced. I said, Jax Taylor has gone on the last couple of years outside of Vanderpump Rules and said, I didn't need that show. I have this perfect
Yes.
family. I have a perfect wife. I have a perfect son. I
Yes.
have everything I need. I'm so set on money. I'm all good. And we found out none of that was true. But in a sense, if you had said that, what reality show bring in the year 2025, you are so hyper aware of what a reality TV show has the capabilities of doing good and bad. You can sell tummy tea, you can get brand deals, it can set you up for a good portion of 5 years of your life
Yes. Right.
potentially. But
Right.
what is the cost? I mean,
Yeah.
we have a story of Janet escaping the US, Janet
Yeah.
Caperna leaving the US.
Right. And that's such a good point that you bring up. I'm so glad we're talking about this. When I think about the peak of reality television in like the mid 2000s, it was The Bachelor. And this was pre social media, pre Instagram, pre brand deals, pre sponsorships. And these people would go on these shows genuinely and earnestly looking for love. And after they would, couple up with their final pick, you wouldn't really hear of them again other than like them being splattered on top of People magazine or all the tabloids, whatever. But now I feel like, and for me, it was a very distinct cutoff. Did you ever watch Ben Higgins' season of The
Yeah,
Bachelor? Yeah, so I
100%.
feel like that season was kind of when I started to see the entire landscape of social media and its impact on reality television change. Because that's when I started to see like Lauren Bushnell, Amanda Stanton, Becca, the Becca girl, runner up, I think. They were all starting to get so much brand deals and attention and were being talked about. And I'm like, oh my God, this is where our actual celebrities are coming from now. It's not even like A-list movie stars that we used to see when we think about Leo or Brad or Kate
No,
Winslet.
Timothy Chalamet is an outlier now. Like
Yes,
movie stars
100%.
shouldn't exist. Like movie stars don't exist in all intents and purposes because TikTok exists. Is because
Yes,
reality shows exist. And a show like The Bachelor, these are like all of these shows are the bastard children of The Bachelor or early Vanderpump Rules and
hmm,
Beverly Hills. And that's why I'm saying like even when you watch Real Housewives, like I said, I went back and watched the Jersey reunions. It is so real. It is so palpable. It is so relationship driven. Not everybody has a huge house. Like Kathy Wakili is in like, like just a basic two-story place. I mean, Teresa had her mismatched windows mansion that Joe built for her, of course, but that was funny. And then
yeah,
nowadays it's all people that have grown up on reality television. So you're watching people do sometimes like characterizations of things that they've seen, which was always my problem with Jen Shaw in Salt Lake City that first
100%.
season,
She
right?
was
Like,
renting her home. It wasn't even her home that she owned.
well, Jen Aiden was the same way. Allegedly, she had gotten a new home on Jersey just so she could be on Jersey to make her life look bigger. And it's almost like I said, it's like a mutant version of auditioning for Saturday Night Live is auditioning for Housewives because most of these casting directors, you'll see people that are on Housewives now that have auditioned like 3 years in a row. Like they've looked at them intensely
What?
3 seasons in a row. They're like, oh, yeah, we're aware of this person. And so the casting process is so interesting. And I just don't think we can ever get back. You can't put the rabbit back in the hat. I don't think we can get back to a day where that's why I think Scandival, sorry to bring up trigger warning, Scandival and trigger warning Ryan Bailey that's why, is that there was like obviously some people that thought that was a conspiracy and all fake, but the rest of us were like, this is so palpably real. This is
So
so
real.
real. And they're
Yes.
doing everything in their power to hide things. And you just felt how real that was. And I think that's what got all of us. I mean, and Love Island to a degree, it is edited and done within like a week of airing. So you get the sense of a reality that you're not getting
Yes.
sometimes with shows that are waiting 10 months to air after they filmed.
100%. And I think that's why people are becoming frustrated with shows like Summer House because you're seeing so much in real time on TikTok, on Page Six. I remember
Yeah.
last summer when Jesse and Lexi were dating and they were caught like in the restaurants, whatever, in New York City
Oh
that
yeah,
summer. And
I
I'm like,
remember the
this is
first couple of
stupid.
weeks. I think
Yes.
Sophie was the one that said it on my show. Like, I know who this is. I know who this person is. And I will say, in Summer House's defense, we all have that one show. And I know Sophie, and I think it's like, oh, Summer
Mhm.
House is boring. Summer House is my comfort show where
Yeah.
I can almost accept that sort of darkness, or you
100%.
you
Yeah.
feel like you're investing in a 401k. Like eventually, if we invest enough in Jesse Solomon, it's going to pay off dividends 4 years from now because
Yeah.
he got off with a slap on the wrist. So you know that he's going to keep going back and he's going to make some kind of fatal mistake, and those cameras are going to be there to capture it. But for me, Summer House is still this thing where you don't know why, but they seem to still enjoy hanging out with each other.
Yeah, I know Sophie really hates Summer
I
House. I
know.
really like it. And I have to say, I'm really enjoying Carl's character arc because I used to hate him. Like literally, I was his biggest hater up until this season. But like I feel as if, let me know if you agree on this. Carl has done unspeakable things while on cocaine. Do you know what I mean? Like things that have
Yeah.
things that
By
like
the way,
that he
if
can't speak
if
about.
if you're lucky slash tragic enough to have had your nights with cocaine, I think people will understand that that is a very that is. But by the way, that should be the advertise. That not say no to drugs. Just say like, look at Carl on cocaine. Look at you on cocaine. Bad things are going to happen. And
Bad
you know,
things.
to your point though, what I do find interesting. and it's not the most exciting to watch, but I enjoy watching somebody struggle in sort of a valiant way to discover who he is for the first time. Somebody that's so uncomfortable with themselves and having to relearn everything. And that's why it's so interesting to watch him like almost fanboy about Imrule, like about sex clubs, because he's like, there's that part of Carl. It's like, God, I wish I had the bravery to be in a sex club, or I wish,
Yeah.
like these things, or even finding out like the night before he proposed to Lindsay Hubbard, he had to go to the hospital because he was like chugging Red Bull. He was like
Oh,
chugging Red Bull.
yeah. I forgot about that.
Like that kind of thing is like stuff we don't see on Summer House. And then you
Yeah.
find out the behind the scenes and you're like, this dude obviously went to drugs and alcohol because it mellowed his mind in some way, or it made him be able to lasso that really dark energy or those thoughts where he
Hmm.
felt he was in control. Because I think life is so scary. And when you're like free balling life, and you're just
Yeah.
like raw dogging, like I'm not using substances, I'm not, it's a really scary thing to face as you get older.
Summer is right around the corner, but between beach days, weekend getaways, and backyard barbecues, your to-do list isn't getting any shorter. Remember that patio set you promised to build by Memorial Day? The grouting tutorial you watched but never actually followed? The garbage disposal that's been making that sound since 2024? Enter TaskRabbit, your secret weapon for a carefree summer. TaskRabbit connects you with skilled taskers to help with moving, mounting, furniture assembly, home repairs, and more. Many taskers are even available to help that same day. So why wait for you to do it when a tasker can just do it instead? You guys, I just bought a surround sound system for my TV and I truly cannot be bothered to set it up myself. And as you all know, I work a 9 to 5 job on top of Snarkbait, and buying my time back is essential. So enter TaskRabbit. The tasker set up the surround sound in my home, did the job efficiently, and tidied up before leaving. He was also super friendly and professional. So tackle your to-do list today and get 15% off your first task at taskrabbit.com or on the TaskRabbit app using promo code SNARK. That's promo code SNARK at taskrabbit.com for 15% off your task. TaskRabbit, book trusted help for home tasks. And speaking of dark energy, I have to ask, and you did mention Janet fleeing the country, and was seeing those headlines as well. Do you think Janet's going to be asked on another season of Bravo, or have you heard anything to that
I,
effect? Because I feel
I,
like you're so in it, Ryan. I feel like you hear things before everyone
No,
else.
well, I feel like it's a mix of like, I mean, listen, I feel like I'm like right in that middle lane where I think more people would know way more than I do. But also I want to make this clear. I don't go searching for information. The information I get is usually given to me.
100%,
And
yeah.
but there is a lot of people out there that will get into DM. Like I'm not that person, and I'm less so now than I was ever when I first started off, when I thought it was really cool to like be with these people or to be around these people. It's not sunshine and roses. Like it's a
Hmm.
real dark energy. So
Hmm.
I think she'll 100% be asked back. Whether she decides to go back, that would be something that I think I mean, but just remember the third season, you are starting to make real money. Real money.
Interesting. Okay, so would you say per episode they're probably Janet and Jason are each getting paid like 10,000 an episode?
By the second season,
So that like if we do 12
yeah,
episodes,
I get
120K.
120K. Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that. But remember, that's going to probably double at least in the third season.
Yeah, so it's money that you would be stupid to say no to. But I don't know how Janet will ever clean up her act because I've never seen anyone on Bravo except maybe Camille in season 1 of Beverly Hills get such a negative reaction amongst the audience. Why do you think she's so triggering to people?
Well, see, I mean, I go back and forth on this so much because I feel like we have disliked people like this before. But then when I try to go down that rabbit hole and think about, well, who is it? It's usually the men of Bravo, or usually. But I will say, remember, there have been seasons in Vanderpump where Dodie was extremely hated. Dodie was like
Yes.
considered the devil. I mean, just remember, like, and then now to see somebody come around that bend and be celebrated, be celebrated for warts and all, even though I do feel like I see growth and I feel like, oh, I understand how that Luke and her relationship completely works. It's so exciting to see them have this baby that that they really wanted to have. So I believe like Janet is in that kind of Dodie spot without ever having to any accusations of like you slept with Jax. We know
Right.
Janet hasn't slept with Jax, like we know that. But she is doing that thing where she knows she's on camera. So she knows that. She's obviously a fan of reality television. So she knows those two things. So my thing is anything she says, she really believes. So I don't even know if it's self-producing. I think there is an element of self-producing where she's like, oh, I'm going to let it rip. I'm going to let it rip. But I also think that's her personality outside of it. Like
Yeah.
she tells her truth. And just like, this is somebody that obviously I think is admitted to being on Reddit a lot. She has a Finsta. She does the digging. And
Yeah.
if you feel like you're around this, what I'm assuming she feels is this great injustice of like, you think I'm bad, I know Dodie's bad, or I know Danny's bad. I think she thinks she's in the right.
Yes. I fully believe that she believes she is standing up for what everyone else in the audience is thinking, but it's in fact doing the exact opposite. And I think her, to your point, her being on Reddit, her being on the Finstas, her being deep in the comments, it feels so disingenuous. And I think Sophie said people call her fan it. I think that's the funniest fucking thing because she really is at the end of the day a fan. So I think everyone's just a little triggered by her because
Oh
she's
yeah.
like
Oh God.
Reddit personified.
Well, exactly. And that sometimes is my least favorite type of character that we deal with on reality TV. And which, by the way, I'm so sorry if I'm over talking you guys.
No,
I
I
know
love it.
people are,
I'm
I know,
no,
I already hear the reviews, but I just want to say, I just get really excited. No, no, no. Whenever I guess I'm like, I can hear the reviews. I just want to apologize to all the
baby
baby
snarks.
snarks out there. Yeah.
Oh my God, no. First of all, that's very self-aware for you to say that. But no, I actually love picking your brain because you
Okay.
do know a lot. So I'm actually very interested
Yeah.
and happy that you're
Yeah.
talking.
So I, I think, see, this is so sad. Like, I think about this shit so much. And this is where it becomes not enjoyable because you want to watch it viscerally that first time you watch it, right? And you're like, fuck, Janet, man, that gnarly. Why did she go after Nia? Of course Nia's crying. Like, of course Nia, like, that's Nia's character. She would cry in that scenario.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but if Janet really did believe Dodie was like the person instead of Zach spreading this information, but then you go through another layer of like, it's 2025, babe. This is reality TV. Of course, they're going to dig up every one of your boyfriends slash girlfriends. Like I would not be surprised on the third season if they dig up somebody that Janet dated in the fourth grade and they're like, here's Chris, your fourth grade love. You broke his
Yeah.
heart on the playground and now here he is. Deal with it, Janet. Like that's the shit that we've seen since Miami Girl, which Dodie
Oh
brought
my God.
on in
Yes.
Vanderpump Rules. So in a sense, like this is a person doing cover songs of songs that were already there and celebrated. So my thing is with all good art, and I do call it art, how will we view this 5 years from now? Will we eventually get to a point, if Janet stays on, where Janet got so much knocks that eventually people will appreciate Janet? I don't know the answer to this, but I'm saying if you look in retrospect of all the insanity, I mean, Dodie survived watching the movie Drive with Jax Taylor while Sandoval was in the other room. I mean, survived that and is celebrated. So
Yes.
can things still be survivable in 2025? Because everybody's like, I want Janet off the screen. Okay, let's get Janet off the screen. What do we have then? So do we want
Right.
Jax off the screen too? Okay, let's get him off the screen. So we have Dark Side Danny, potentially, which Janet called out, but he seems like he wants to try to be on the straight and narrow. And,
Right.
Danny and Nia seem like they have a very real relationship. It might not be one I completely understand, but it seems real and full of love and obviously children.
Hmm.
But what do we have on the Valley if we don't have somebody? And the other thought, Chrissy, do you think about if she does these scenes and in the moment, I always talk about this concept of winning the scene, but then losing the audience, is that she might think she's won a scene in terms of, I took this person down, and
Right.
then realizing 10 months later when it's released and the audience gets its eyes on it, we have a completely different interpretation than they did in that scene. Like that's how I like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills when they would gang up on somebody. I felt like seasons Lisa Rinna thought she was like destroying, and then the audience got a hold of it, and you're like, "What are you
Yes.
talking about?"
Wait, I am loving that you're bringing up this idea of like the villain and if Janet were to leave, Jax were to leave, what do we have? And I was actually thinking about this the other day about reality TV villains that are fun to have on our screen versus those that were like, we hate you, we want you gone. Because I think about Lisa Rinna's last season and how put off the audience was
Yes.
by her, but she was moving the storyline along. Same with Jax and Janet. They are horrible. I could not be friends with them, but at the same time, they're projecting, they're moving, they're pushing the storyline along. So what would we have? Like, if we don't like these villains, then what are we to have on our show that's going to cause the drama? Like, where is that happy
Well,
medium, I
yeah.
guess, where people are okay with a reality
Well,
villain?
I've seen some comments where like, oh, I miss the Valley being fun. The Valley's never been fun. Like,
No.
what show do you think you're watching, or what show are you thinking you're going to watch in your head? Because I don't think in the reality of this situation, people nearing 40 with kids that are forced to hang around each other, it feels like some sort of like Faustian bargain with like the devil that these people, it's like, that's what I always thought about Vanderpump Rules. If it kept going, the fact that they were all chained to each other, like no matter how much money and brand deals, you still have to wake up in a scene with Sandoval. Like that is a sort of torture that you are selling your soul for. So of course this isn't going to be fun. There's going to be relationships within the core group of friends. Like, it was fun to watch Zach get so excited about planning the Dodie surprise.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, we're going to have the other shoe drop where Brittany's going to continue of like, I just wish I was invited. I wish I was, I'm your best friend.
Oh, oh, oh.
I just want, and the fact of the matter is, production is helping Jack Taylor so much that they only give him two brief scenes. And one of those scenes, he still manages to put something so dark in there where he's on a FaceTime with like Jesse and like, where they're like, miss you, bud. It's not the same without you. Really? Because it feels the same. And then he goes, I got to come there and stir up some shit. No. You didn't learn a damn thing. If you think that we need you to stir up some shit, like, no, we would actually want to watch you go through some sort of Carl sobriety journey where you're like,
Right.
might not be the most exciting, but my God, you can't say that Carl's not actually trying to work on himself.
There's a valiant effort from Carl. Jax, I'm afraid that every time he talks on my screen, I'm like, it's bullshit. Like I literally cannot believe an ounce of anything that comes out of that man's mouth because it's rooted in just it's lying. He's a
Well,
liar.
but I did this thing on the show a couple weeks ago where I took the story about his blood pressure in the mental health facility slash rehab center.
The
So
ambulance had to pick him up.
the story he told on Watch What Happens Live was very different than the story he told on the Valley After Show. Like it had so many inconsistencies where he was like, oh, I had to I had to go back to my bed and I fell asleep and they woke me up. Like on the after show, he tells a like really different story than he did on Watch What Happens Live to Andy. And so if you can catch this man, the more you put a camera on him, the more you're going to catch him in some sort of really bizarre lie. And this poor mental, I mean, people are like coming down to this mental health facility, but we'll never be able to know their side because they can't talk about it.
Right. It's yeah, right, right. It's like anonymous. And everyone I was seeing discussion on Reddit of like, did he even go? But I'm
Yeah,
like,
he
he
definitely,
went.
well, yeah, because I mean, he actually named the facility. I did a whole thing on my podcast where I found the website. It actually matches up to where Jesse picked him up, the gates and all of this stuff. But it's not
I
like
love that.
some fancy, like it's a converted house. It's a
Yeah.
house.
That I was like, I think I read it was a sober living
Yeah.
facility.
And so I had a somebody that works in the mental health industry on a couple weeks ago, and just to talk about this, and just like if Jack's, like production might have strongly suggested or urged on top of his friends, on top of his manager and publicist to go, he still had to be the one to check himself in so he could check himself out at any time.
Right.
And so my theory is he was there for 30 days, but he could also choose not to participate. Like it sounds like he was on his phone a lot. So he was like, he could just be like, no, you're not. He signed up he got a new condo while he was in there. Do you know how like hard it is to get a car? Like
I
this guy
didn't
got
even
a condo.
I didn't even put that together. You're so right. He signed a lease. He
Yes,
got
you
all
know
the
how hard that
paperwork
is?
in. He had access.
That's what I'm saying. Like he did all the like I don't even make these like major moves, and I'm not
Right.
in a mental health facility yet.
Right.
But he was like getting things done. The guy was like visiting his house like once a day. Like the fact that he felt like FOMO for anything, I'm like, you're out in the real world most of these people at this point. You
No,
could have just stopped by your
100%.
bar.
And when Brittany's like, how is this facility letting him have his phone so often? I'm like, he's texting her 8 hours a day.
That's a full-time job. And the fact, like, and there was one comment on the after show, I think, that he made the front desk girl cry.
I saw
And I
that.
just thought, like, and the lady that was on my show was like, yeah, like there are people that you just are, like, yeah, that they're not going to stay on the straight and narrow, or you want the best for them, but they didn't take anything, they didn't really learn anything from the experience. And remember, this was the first time they shot that in September when he got out, and then in November he entered a second mental health facility slash rehab center. He only stayed that one 17 days, and that one is allegedly where he has remained sober from since. So when he was on Watch What Happens Live celebrating his 200th day. And he does allegedly get drug tested by his counselor, and Brittany can drug test him at any point, and she says she does. But to your point on your last or a couple weeks ago, your episode with Sophie, it's like, I've got a rage problem. I don't got a drug problem. I got a
Yeah.
rage problem. I got an anger problem.
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to treat that in 30 days and 17 days.
No.
You're not.
That's months, and also like it's not a band-aid. That's why when I hate this is like such a tangent, but when people are like, I'm gonna go on an ayahuasca trip and it's gonna change my life. It's like, give me a fucking break. 2 days of tripping out is not going to impact and modify how you change the entire direction of your life. It's work, it's therapy, it's
Which it's a lot.
medication.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm proudly on SSRIs, and
Same.
I now am proudly found a therapist that I actually. I don't want to say I enjoy going to because I don't think there's a lot of enjoyment like mining your like. I mean, like
Yeah, no, I get what
facing
you're
things
saying.
that you've done. Like it's not fun. I mean, you sometimes go out of there feeling good, and sometimes you just feel like shit. And sometimes you go on a day where you're like, I don't want to downshift this day because I know I have to then go into like it's really hard. Like it's not something. And on top of it, it's expensive. They don't make it easy to find
So expensive.
people with insurance, so you have to pay out of pocket.
Yep.
It's a privilege to be able to do these things, but in some way, people consider it like masochism because I don't know, but I mean, I would much rather, I think at this point, try, and but Jack says he's on SSRIs now and says, I don't know. I mean, but it's, this is the kind of thing it's like you have Janet and you have Jax right there. You got a home run right there. If the show really wanted, it's like every Janet scene, it's like, we got Jax right there. The fact that
Yeah.
Janet was going after Danny when I'm like, we have Jax right here. And this, Brittany's one of your best friends. You know all of the shit that he's done. And we're going after Danny, something that we can't on camera prove.
It's no, actually, that's the most abhorrent behavior between her and Jason, and why I fucking hate them. It's like you have the most abhorrent guy in all of Bravo in your living room, and you're just cheering him on, while at the meantime you're 404, Danny.
I got 302. Yeah. He's always smiling. Ah, I'm just trying, man. I'm sorry I grabbed your ass. Ha. It's
No,
so
that's literally
crazy.
that's him. Okay, I want to switch over to Love Island. I need to know because there's so many things going on, and I want to just ask you one question: Who's your favorite woman on the island, and who is your favorite guy? And then switching that, least favorite woman, least favorite guy.
I really like Ariana and Ian Sterling, the narrator. That's I really enjoy their work.
No, for
I
real, that's
since
the
my
right answer. That's a
favorite.
such a
I don't. I mean, at this point, I don't think I have. I mean, they're people that I watch every day, but there was a time that I really liked Olandria, and I still do to a degree. But if you go back to what the show's supposed to be about, I don't think there's really at this point any love connection that I'm going to firmly believe in any sort of way. So enjoy your brand deals after this. You enjoy all of the success that you'll have after this. But least favorite, that really changes from week to week as well.
totally.
Least favorite, I really was disliking Austin this week, but they got him out. I was disliking Ace this week. He's still there.
Yeah,
And
same. Those are good ones to dislike.
in terms of girl, I mean, I know everybody is hopped up on Sierra right now, and I understand, which I'm excited to talk about.
Hmm.
But before that, Shelly maybe Shelly
Yeah,
just because Shelly, like for me, she was like in the first week and a half I was like, oh, she's gonna go to the end. I mean, this is
me
gonna be
too.
huge.
Loved
And
her.
then her personality, I don't know if it's the edit or what, has become so muted in such a weird way over these last couple of weeks that I feel like she's become a non-persona. And that when they did the America's vote of like, most
Hmm.
person you want to hang out with and da da da, it really like the fact that she was surprised about this and still kind of defending her, like, oh, I listen to everybody and people come to me. Like it
Yeah,
really is very interesting because
I'm the
we
most
also do have to,
trustworthy.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, but it's like, yeah, they're doing 24-hour feeds in there that we do see a lot, but we don't see nearly as much. So I would love to know what makes her truly believe this. And they're never going to give us like Big Brother live feeds, but it is interesting to see how things are. I don't mean manipulated in a bad way, but they are making a show. You've got to put a show
Right.
together. So how is that working? And it is interesting always when America votes and they're shocked. It's kind of like, with a 10-month
Lead
lag time
time.
between, yeah,
Right.
then you see the audience, sometimes the cast members are shocked that we're taking it the way we are. I mean, what
Yeah.
about for you? Who cares about me?
No, I think for my favorites, that's such a good answer. I'm going to start using that. Ian Sterling, Ariana Madix, my
Yeah.
faves. My least favorites right now are obviously Sierra. I think Shelley, Olandri, and Sierra right now are getting the worst edit and people are really disliking them on social media. And I saw you've probably seen these TikToks or these Instagram reels as well. People are calling them like the Shein PPG, the Temu PPG, because everyone's just like so
I didn't see
like
that. No.
Sierra like thinks she's Leah, and like Shelly probably thinks she's Janae. And I saw this edit of when Serena cussed out Cordell last year when she was on the dock, going back and forth on that dock and screaming at him. Everyone's like, "This is what Olandria thought she was doing at the fire pit when she called out Taylor in front of everyone." And he was like, "I just don't like you. Like I like Clark. If I were to choose today, I would choose Clark." And everyone's like, "That's what Olandria thought she was doing. She'll never be it."
Well,
Um,
the sad thing is the audience was so already aware of that before Alandria ever clocked it. Cause like I was like, but I don't even think
oh
Taylor has a great connection with Clark. I think Taylor has a good connection with Nick. I mean,
no,
like I feel
one
like that's where he
hundred
gets
percent.
super excited. Like so my thing is like I was already like, dude, Taylor doesn't like you. Like, I mean, he likes you, but he doesn't like you like that. Like the way Taylor kisses any girl's a
Okay, I've seen, and obviously I don't want to like speculate, but this is just what I saw on TikTok. A guy on TikTok said, "I have hooked up with a cast member on Love Island that is a man," and people were theorizing that it could perhaps be Taylor and that he's DL. And I listen, I don't. For me, I
I
have the
mean,
horrible worst gator.
but
So
also, I'm in the year 2025 where, like, I feel like, I mean, like as Seth Marks talks about on Next Gen NYC, there is a fluidity that I feel like,
totally,
young people are so much more comfortable with, and I'm happy to see that happen. Like, I don't think there's any kind of shame in that at all. But it is
not at all.
interesting when you're like, there is no chemistry that I'm feeling
Yes,
on like watching this as a viewer. So the fact that Olandria was still like, I mean, I was still rooting for Jalen. I thought Jalen and Olandria's chemistry was palpable. I was like, wow, this is.
no,
I thought it was an obvious choice for Alandria, and the fact that she went to like Goofy Taylor, who like in every scene is like
yeah, yeah.
his lips
Yo,
are. I wish I had big. This is the only reason I get a lip job is I want to
a lip
do.
job,
I have such thin lips, and so I'm so confused. And but also, isn't that
a
just
lip job.
a great microscope on like humanity in general of like how many people
Totally.
you've liked that have not been into you or so
Yes.
like that we've all been in that situation. So I feel like Olandria like speaking her truth in this big monologue. It's like God, we I wish that had been done without a game because it was warranted. So
That's what
like
everyone was saying about Serena. It's like she did that without a game pushing her to do that because that's just how she felt and she made it her truth. Whereas Alandria is like, now that I have the microphone on me, let me just tell you. And everyone's like, dude, you could have told him this many a time, but I totally agree. Thank you for making that
Whoa, if
distinguishment
Clark,
between,
Chrissy, if Clark didn't go in
yeah,
there, we might be dealing with like a Lindsay Hubbard Carl situation where Taylor would be at the aisle with Olandria, just
yep,
going like, I guess it's just what I have to do, like kiss. Like I would be
yeah,
scared that they would still be dating after, because it just seems like Taylor, like a lot of us men, we don't know, we're too scared to say how we feel because we don't want to rock the boat or we don't want to have that tough conversation or like I've been guilty of that so many times myself, so I
sure.
understand that. But you are on a show where you are supposed to talk about your feelings and you are supposed to talk about why you like each other, and this show is like bonanza in terms of how big it is and how many people are watching.
It's
So the
huge.
new viewers don't understand what it can be sometimes, like where you'll actually have moments where you're like, oh, this is so cute. It actually makes me believe in love. And you forget of like they've only known each other 3 weeks. Like
Yeah.
it's all like you forget about those things. And I know that sounds like insane and sappy, but all we're doing is watching just a bunch of influencers getting their Instagram account like
Yep.
numbers up. And that's what I feel like I'm watching. And that's why when Sierra loses 150,000 followers, this is what it's like to have the sort of fans that don't know you is you are here one day, gone the next. You make one wrong
Yeah.
move, they will unfollow your ass and you've lost 150,000 people overnight because
Overnight.
we can't be true fans of these people because we've only known them for 3 weeks.
Right. And yes, I am so glad this year she lost all those followers. And I want to talk about that because, interestingly enough, I think not to like toot my own horn, but I'm pretty sure I made this go viral and I didn't see it for myself. So someone posted a Reddit thread of her saying that I get Botox because my eyes look chinky when I smile. And so someone posted that on Reddit and I'm like, holy fuck, this is bad. So I made a TikTok and I remember it got like some traction. I think it got like close to like 60,000 views and everyone was saying, wait, this needs to go viral. Why is no one talking about this?
So you
I,
started this?
I'm pretty sure like I started this on TikTok. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn because I didn't
No,
find that story. I saw it on LA influencer Snark Reddit page, but like after my TikTok, that's when it started to blow up. And if people like I understand objectively, if we talk about like systemic racism in the United States, I understand that racism that Asians face objectively is different than the racism that Black people face, that Latin people face. And I
Can you
understand that the
can you
use of
ex
the word,
sorry to be ignorant, but can you explain why it's different to me?
yeah. So I think systemically Asians come and it's very much in our culture to not be activists. We keep our head down, we do our work, we don't speak up. Asians are typically higher earners in the United States. We're not nearly as incarcerated as Black people or Latin people. We're the quote unquote model minority. And actually, that whole concept of model minority was put into place by Americans to basically segregate Black, Indigenous, other people of color from one another. So it's not like, okay, we as Asians need to band together with Black people, with Latin people, Mexican people to be like a united front. No, we're actually now factioning ourselves against one another. We are the ones that you should look up to. Us being Asians are the ones that people should look up to. And then the Black Latins are othered, right? And so I think just like systemically, when it comes to just earning potential and incarceration, it's just like Asians have the better end of the stick. I hope I'm explaining this correctly and not offending
You
anyone.
are.
Yeah. And so I think that when people hear the term like the C word, it's not as well known in America because when you hear the N word, of course, we all know it's a horrible word to
Christy,
say. We
I
should not be
knew it.
saying
I
it.
grew up in Olathe, Kansas. I knew that that was a slur. I mean, I knew that as a kid, and I wasn't raised. I was raised in a
The C word.
middle. Yeah, I knew that
Yeah.
was a bad. I mean, but I knew it was bad, and that's why, Christy, it's so funny when you watch and I do this with everybody. I even do it with Jax Taylor. Is that I saw all of this. I didn't see your Instagram, but
Yep.
I did. I saw it in a bunch of other different places over this past couple of days. And in my head, I'm always looking to give people the out. I'm like, well, maybe she didn't know. Like maybe it's like a slang that she heard her friend use and didn't associate. Like I'm giving people excuses. And then I went down of like, well, that's and then I saw a second screenshot of her in an Instagram, somebody
Yes.
telling her, hey, I just wanted you to know, girly pop, that
It's a
this is
derogatory term against
derogatory.
Asians.
And she
Yes.
said, well, thank God I'm not using it that way, which I don't know what that meant, that she was
Yeah.
not using it that way, because it felt like, no, girl, you are using it that way. I didn't understand her comment back, Sierra, to that person that was trying to educate her a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up because someone did point it out and was like, "Hey, that's really not a term you should use, and these are the reasons why." And she gave like a Google screenshot, and she said, "Yeah, well, thank God I didn't use it in that way." Well, there's no other way. Like, you can't just say, actually, I won't even get into that, but it's very offensive, and I think oftentimes in American history or in U.S. history classes, when you're taught in high school, you're never taught really about the Chinese Exclusion Act or the fact that like many Chinese people built all the
People don't know about
railroads,
internment camps. People don't
internment,
know
Japanese
which,
internment camps.
welcome to 2025. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
we are this is what's so frustrating is that we have a history and we don't study it. I would rather watch earlier seasons of Beverly Hills than like people go back and like study actual history because history is painful and hopefully history exists so we can learn something from it. Like there's
right.
always so many teachable moments even in reality television that we're also like hopped up on trying to be influencers and trying to be like this version of somebody that doesn't exist in the first place that we admire and see online and we want to be invited to the party. It's all so empty as you get older and you realize more and more
Hmm.
about this. But we're also dealing with Christy of like, it's, I feel like half of the population that doesn't understand that racism still exists. The
Yes.
racism, like it just does. I mean, like, and it's not in the way that people like want to get offended by of like, I'm not sitting there. It is just so in us. Like, life is sometimes like the deck of cards is stacked against minorities in so many
Yeah.
ways. And we, like a lot of people in personal situations, take that so personally, like it's saying something about us. There is institutionalized racism,
Right.
period, point blank. And that doesn't mean that we don't get to live our lives. That doesn't mean it's just that means that you have to help people along. You have to show people the right way. You have to show, and that's where I was thinking
Hmm.
like maybe Sierra doesn't know. And then I read that Instagram comment, and
And you're
then
like,
but see, I don't do all the Reddit stuff, and then I realized, oh. She's friends with all these influencers, like Brooke Schofield. She's friends with. She's like she had this group of girls that have been in and out of like drama and canceling. Like she is
cancel
well
culture. Yeah.
aware of the
Yes.
internet. So that's where I
Yes.
get super confused because I don't feel like we're watching like relationships anymore. I feel like I'm watching a bunch of individuals that have dreamt of having a high TikTok and Instagram following.
Right. And I think what is the most hurtful being an Asian person myself is like Asian culture in 2025 is very hip. It's very cool to go to Japan. It's very cool to go to Taiwan. People love our food. They love our culture. To be very clear, it was not like that when I grew up. And growing up, I grew up basically 50% white people, 50% Asian. Like Irvine, where I grew up, is like upper middle class, right? And it's a lot of Asians, right? And even with a lot of Asian people in and around my circle and at my elementary school, I was still bullied for being Asian. Or like my cousins would bring like noodles and people would say like my cousin was eating worms, or they would do like the slanty eye thing, right? Or they would just assume if you were Asian, then you were Chinese. Not that there's like different types of Asians, like many different types of Asians, right? It was very much a cultural, not a culturally cool thing to be Asian. Even though it is now, and to be clear, labubus or whatever that is, that's very much like a thing that was originated in Taiwan, and now
Yeah.
it's all of a sudden coming into the U.S. because it's now cool, right? But like a lot of
Well,
cool,
let's make that one a little less cool if we could.
yeah,
As we go into this
100%,
next week, can we really take our foot off the gas with that one? Yeah.
100% agree. But it's interesting because again, we aren't necessarily shunned. We as an Asian people aren't as shunned. That people don't think Asian racism is real. And let me tell you, growing up, it was very real. And albeit it's gotten a lot better as I've gotten older, but like speaking from my own experience being in a predominantly white and Asian school, it wasn't like I was a tokenized Asian person and people didn't know wasn't familiar with my culture. No, we were like half the school and people were still racist against us, right? So this is very much a thing, but people think just because it's Asian racism, therefore it's not as a big of a deal. No, 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 it very much is, and it has completely altered the way that I have moved, like gone out throughout my life.
So when you see Sierra say that or read that in her past posting, does that give you a visceral feeling in the moment? Like, I mean, honestly, do you hearken
Mhm,
back to growing up in Irvine? Like, what goes through your head? Or are you so used to it and it being normalized that you're like,
mhm.
ah, yeah, that's a Tuesday. Like, what is that like?
Yeah, I think I was more shocked because to your point, like I think I heard it a lot more when we were like younger, but now, like in the 2020s, I don't remember the last time I'd heard it or someone called me that. Or I mean, it's such an dated term. I was actually shocked it was still in her vernacular. Like I was more astonished by like, is this girl born in a zoo? Like this girl is what? Like where did you learn this? It's such a I don't know. It's just an old antiquated saying to me. And maybe it's because I've lived in more diverse, like in Irvine and Orange County. People say it's very Republican. It is, but actually is a very diverse population down here in San Francisco. So like maybe it's not. It's because of where I've lived and I haven't heard that. But like and she's from Arizona, but she also lives in LA right now where there's a shit ton of Asians. Like LA was
Yeah, but
built basically
also
on
like the
Asians. Like,
well, the oh, I mean, God,
yeah.
but also the fetishization of Asians, or
Yes.
like you said, that culture, or even thinking about
Mm-hmm.
Gwen Stefani back in the day with the Hirajuku girls and the,
Yes.
like, and
Yes.
not really, because in a sense, you're like, well, I'm learning about some sort of culture that I have no idea about, or like I've been
Mm-hmm.
to Japan, lucky enough, like three
Mm-hmm.
times, and it was so amazing just to be there and to see things that I had no idea existed. But when it comes to then, I mean, my question though is you see now with all of the discourse about Love Island, it's like, get Sierra out of there. Get Sierra, gone, gone. She's got to be gone, gone, gone. And this is
Mm-hmm.
where I get confused because I
Yeah.
don't know the answers. Like, so we got, what's her name out the first week?
Yulissa.
Yulissa, right? She said the N word on podcast, I think multiple times.
Yep.
Completely understood that. Thought they handled it well. Like just said, Yulissa has left the villa.
Yeah.
Like, okay, good. Ulysses is out there now doing like appearances at like bowling alleys
No.
and like, acting like she's like one of the big stars of, more
Yeah.
power to you, I guess. So my question is you is like, what should happen in situations like this? Because is Love Island, like we're all having this conversation without any sort of facilitator.
Right.
And if it, Love Island, obviously Ariana's not going to go out there and have a conversation about race in America and minorities. And, which I think she probably could facilitate a conversation, but I don't think that's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
what do like, and then you go in, you grab her and say, hey, there was a post that we found with this, slur, and then we saw it said again. We're going to need you to leave. Like, is that the reality in which people think that should happen? We're in the last
Hmm.
week. The show ends next Sunday.
Right.
And I don't know that answer. Like, because if that's the case, why didn't we get Austin out? Like, the shit Austin was like problematically reposting on TikTok before he got in that island, that scared the shit out of me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, that just scared the
What
bejesus
did
out of
he
me.
say again?
Oh, he was like reposting like anti-Kamala stuff, the RFK stuff, and
Okay.
it's just a very specific type of male thinking that I see it really, just you could really tell that type of person. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that Austin then ceases to exist, but
Yeah.
I'm saying but I think in 2025, you're obviously going to brush up against people with differing views. How do we go forward in reality TV when we've all said something problematic to that degree, but I have a feeling everybody, I mean, like, listen, the most problematic thing I heard this week was that Ace is 5'10". Like the fact that we let that guy
I
no, I'm obviously joking,
yeah.
but like, I don't know, Chrissy, what do we do? Like in these
Yeah.
situations, what do we do? Because we're all
Yeah.
just angry. Everybody's angry, and
Everyone's pissed.
but it's
Yeah.
like that's the world we live in this day in 2025. We're going to be
Yeah.
angry about everything right now.
Yeah, I think that because they booted Yulisa off within a couple of days of her entering the villa when those slurs came about, they need to hold the same treatment for Sierra. And the reason I say that is because if you do not, you're basically saying to your audience without saying it that Asian racism will be is to a
Tolerated.
degree okay. Um,
Okay, now the other thing I thought is that where the fuck was casting in all this? Like,
so
no, I mean, like,
yeah,
where the fuck? Like, sorry to use the language, but where was casting? Because the fact that internet sleuths can find all of this stuff, like, you need to get those internet sleuths on staff because you have
100%.
painted yourself into a corner of, there is a moral reckoning happening in a lot of areas, and you are either going to be the victim of it or you can rise above it. And it seems like their casting was good up to a point, and then they just forgot about podcasts and like posting and like to not even look at what somebody's reposting, which then
Yeah.
got me scared of like, were they testing the waters to see like, well, it's Trump's America, let's see if this works. Like,
Yeah.
were they testing
Rachel
the waters?
So Rachel from Winter House, and she did a bits on Summer House as well. She actually talked about this on a TikTok, and she said that when she got casted on Winter House, she said that they went through every single thing she's ever put out online, including her Facebook wall posts. Like that's how far deep she went. And she's like, there is not an excuse for casting producers or casting directors or production on Love Island to have not caught this, because the things that Sierra was saying was from 2023 when she says she wants to get Botox and not make her eyes look so small like Asian people. But she also said it on a grid post of her hiking, and she said, I'm chinking my way to the top.
What did that mean?
Like she was, or chinking even at the top, like she was smiling and her eyes looked. And that I think is why it was so problematic, again, to be clear, is because she's basically insinuating that Asian features are not attractive, saying that my eyes are small like Asian people's, and I want to undo that because Asian people have monolids. We don't have a double eyelid, which means that our eyes can't open as much as Caucasian people. And she is saying in those stories that in and of itself, Asian features are unattractive, and I'm going to try to fix that, which is why it is so fucking offensive.
Do you ever wonder which one of her stupid ass influencer friends is the one that taught her that vernacular? Like, I want to know the etymology of her and that word, because now I'm really, and then like, then you then get like, went down a rabbit hole of like, it's like, oh, I didn't realize how fake her lips were. Like, I know I'm not supposed to comment on, I mean,
No, but
like,
everyone's talking about it.
thinner lips than me, and like I didn't know that those were like and so I don't know, the whole thing just makes me so extremely sad because I've seen seasons of Love Island UK, and where it's been, I hate to say this, magical, where I'm like so in it, and I actually do like get like cutesy vibes and stuff. And this, I'm watching angrily. And there are like great moments where like
Yes.
you had that episode where it was just everybody tearing each other apart. And in my reality, I was like, that should have been the last episode last week of them just all tearing each other apart. Of like, that's the
Show's
end
done.
of Love Island.
Yeah.
Who would you even care to win at this point?
No one. Literally,
Who
Amaya. Obviously, Amaya is the right answer.
who are yeah, well, but see, that's what I'm saying. Individuals. This isn't an individual race,
Right. It's a
So,
couple. Yes.
this is another thing. Amaya, I have grown to so love her and her personality. But I also do understand where that is probably way too strong from the little that we've seen in terms of her dealing with the men. Like
Mhm.
that seemed to really scare the shit out of the men there, which is also all right to say. It is all right for Ace to be like, you're too strong, you're coming on too strong. But as she said now 10 times, if you're not, if I'm not your cup of tea, don't drink it. Like I totally agree with
Yeah.
that. But I think she is a magical person.
Yeah.
I just think whoever she does wind up with is going to have to be a magical person as well.
Yeah, and it seems like Brian could be the person for her. I loved how he stood up for her at the fire pit and was like, listen, in Latin culture, like we refer to one
Yes,
another as babe,
that was great.
honey, love. Like it's a very much a part of our culture. And I've talked to like Latinx friends of mine, and they're like, oh yeah, that's totally like normal that we talk to each other form of endearment.
But
I
why is
think
that
it could
so
be them.
threatening to people to actually learn things about other cultures? Like I hear that, I'm
know.
like, oh, I didn't like when I first heard that, I was like, oh, I didn't fully know that, or I wasn't fully cognizant. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, but like for me, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, I wish I, like I call like bro, hey, brosif, like that's like my white stupid man could, like, hey, bro.
Yeah.
Like I love that there are these things that you get to learn about, but like I don't understand why that. I mean, I do understand some, but like it seems to be so threatening for people, their cultures.
Yeah, I know. People were very triggered by her behavior, but I think it's these boys are very young, and I think they are actually, with the exception maybe of Nick, I feel like they do not like strong women. And I feel like Nick actually has an affinity towards strong women, a la Alandria, which by the way, I know we're almost at time, but I
Oh,
need a
sorry.
Nick Alandria
Yeah.
thing to happen
It already
immediately.
happened. What are you
No, but it
talking
needs to come
about?
back. Like,
No, wait, wait, wait. Chrissy, you lost all credibility now. Like, I'm so sorry. You are out of your mind. The fact that you can have an intelligent conversation about race in America and they go, I need Nicolay. You are part of the problem. You are part of the problem.
wait,
I
how
can't
are
believe I
you
had an
not?
intelligent conversation and then Alandria feels nothing for that man. That would literally
Yo,
be
you're
like
right.
that's
You're
forced
right.
labor on
You're right.
Olandria. That is not. And Nick's a man. He's like, yeah, you got boobs, you got lips. I'd love to kiss. I'd love to like. Of
Yeah.
course, like
But
Olandria
you
feels
think
nothing.
he prefers Alandria over Sierra, though. You have to admit it. You've seen all those TikTok edits. The way he is with Alandria is so much more passionate and in love than
I
he is
feel
with
like I'm on
Sierra.
Alex Jones right now. You got to admit, yeah, I'm gonna. This Muscle Blaster 3, you got to admit that Nick loves Olandria. You got to admit that.
Alex Jones.
No, I mean, I see that. I mean, that's the other thing living in 2025, knowing reality shows so well. You're like, okay, like Nick with a Zach with a K, how he's like, oh no, no, I really do love Amaya. I really respect her. It's cool. It's cool. It's like, why don't you respect working on those teeth, like and getting that like fixed a little bit? Like
It's so blinding and
it's
distracting.
I always call him like the Asian Sandoval because he's like so showy. He's got the bowl cut, like the bowl. Like there's like he really wants to make an impact with his look, but like those you got to really then be careful with the teeth because the teeth then if those were like just down a little bit. And the fact that like I'm scared that that was a rush job, like he's like I'm going to the island, I need teeth immediately. And then like he realizes America loves Amaya, so he's like, no, I've always really respected her. It's
Right.
about our
It's
differences.
it's so fake the way he is with Amaya now. It's like you only like that because she's now clearly the people's princess.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like it's individual standum and not
Right.
standum as groups or couples. But Nick to Atlanta, I mean, I don't know. I think Nick, closed himself off and he got so much adulation within there, and he kind of rode the middle in terms of the audience vote. So I I think he's like any typical male where making out with somebody is very exciting. Making out with somebody new, very exciting. And I'm so idiotic where I was like, when Sierra was like talking to like at the picnic date of like them actually having sex. And I was like, oh my God, you guys did it? Like, yeah, like, and of course they did it, but I'm like still back on like the licking of the hand with Hannah to Pepe. I'm like, we're just doing like over the pants stuff, right? Like, are we? And then I'm like, oh no, you're fully having sex
Did Love
in
Island
there.
UK do that? Do they like have
Oh, they
sex
have
like that?
sex. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Jordan,
definitely.
yes.
Yeah, in the chat, like,
Yes.
yes, and it was, but it. I also will say that it's like if you are having sex with somebody in there, you better close off. Like that's another thing. Like just how from what I've been told, how women approach relationships as opposed to men at first. Like when you have sex with somebody, isn't there like a chemical that is released
Yes.
that you're literally like you see
Yes.
them as a definite love interest. And like she
Yes.
said when they paired off, of like, after we had sex, there's been nobody but you.
Yes, that's
Even when we
correct.
had Aol or Elon up, in contention for being with Sierra.
Yeah, right. It's very much a chemical biological thing within women that when we have penetrative sex, you will something a hormone is released to where you feel like they are like a potential match, whereas men do not have that hormone, which is why women have to be very careful or selective with who they sleep with. So I kind of get where she was coming from. Really quick, did you hear that TJ was following Andrew Tate and his parents were like, and his brothers were all in the TikTok comments, like begging people to take down the fact that he follows Andrew Tate?
I did. I figured that would come up at some point here. Like, yeah, I knew about that. And that actually weirdly slid under the radar. Like, it got a little bit of traction
Yes.
and then it slid under the radar. And he hasn't made a comment since coming out of the villa about that because Austin
Yeah.
has made a comment about his past troubling posts.
Yes.
And so, you know, I, I mean, that's the thing is that I think sometimes if somebody's not willing to learn why it's troubling to people, they're just like, fuh. Oh, fucking liberals, man. Can't have anything. Can't be a man in 2025. It's like,
Yeah.
listen to why it's offensive. Listen to,
Yeah.
think about how many rights have been taken away from women in these last couple of years. I mean, just honestly, think about how much less. Sorry to be dark. This is Dark Energy Tuesday, right? Think
Yeah.
about how many rights have been taken away from women and the fact that women are still going along in America, doing their jobs, I mean, like, that is oddly shocking. Like that rights have been taken away. And,
Right.
TJ doesn't understand why that sort of mentality or the Tate brothers. I mean, Tate brothers. I can see where you'd get into them if you're like a 12-year-old kid, you're
Yeah.
really blowing your head with like, whoa. Or if you're DJ James Kennedy, like, whoa. But like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like even for me, I watch CNN, but I'll also watch Fox News because I want to see what the other side is saying. I want to
Yeah.
see how they're presenting their message. I want to see the talking points. And it really scares me. And I think TikTok is one of those really scary things that you can get so much information and 70% of it being false.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think the TJ thing was definitely swept under the rug, thankfully for him because of the Sierra thing. But I think had the Sierra thing not blown up, I think people would have paid far more attention to his followers. And I just really don't like him with Iris. He kind of TJ, let's talk about dark energy now. TJ gives me dark energy, and Iris is very much light energy. She's way too normal for this show. And I feel like her and Pepe actually make a lot of sense. And I'm into that coupling,
Oh,
albeit it's,
Pepe loves somebody that's like lost their strong connection looking for a rebound. Pepe's like, that's my main source
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
income. Like, Pepe's like, the fact when they were looking at each other from like their separate beds, like staring at each other, I was like, what the hell is this moment where they were just like
Yeah.
staring at each other? And then I was like,
Yes.
oh, of course this is going to happen. But Pepe did the same thing when Charlie left with Hannah. Hannah was like bawling. Oh my God. I was like, I
Yeah.
was even, I was like, oh my God, this is like Titanic size love. This is like huge. And then
Yeah,
the
yeah.
next day, Hannah's like spitting on her hand, going like, I can move on. I can totally move on. And I'm like,
Yeah, I feel
Pepe
like
gets in there.
Hannah's still very much into Pepe, I think more than Charlie from what I've seen.
Well,
But
that's
I'd be
the other thing.
curious.
I think the stuff that we don't know is the stuff that keeps us so involved in this show is that you do wonder, like in my head, I'm like, do they have political conversations in the villa? And then when they get out of the villa, what's that like? They have to now hang
Yeah.
out with each other. They have to be at potentially autograph conventions 10 years from now of like, hey, Austin's about to get here. Hopefully we can make a couple hundred today. Like you
Yeah.
wonder what that ecosystem that they're going into because we have Beyond the Villa, which premieres the same night as the finale of Love Island.
So excited.
And I am excited for that too, but like that cast managed to skate past a lot of where we're at right now in society. So they did it in this really interesting way. And it was like, America was discovering the franchise of Love Island to begin with. So like all of these things hit at one time that they all still have careers. Like I've been lucky enough to like talked to Cordell like on the show for like 3 or 4 times
Oh,
for different like brands that he's like doing
yeah.
sponsorships for. And every time I'm just like, I'm proud of you, kid. Like, I mean, like
Hmm.
this dude's like a 24-year-old guy and he's still with Serena. And obviously, he's probably going to fuck up at some point. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
you're so young, so much success. But I mean, imagine getting all of that thrust on you. And all of a sudden, people genuinely give a shit about you, good and bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's a terrifying spot to be in. I don't think anyone really is ready for it. And I think that's speaking of Janet, I feel like she thought she would be a reality TV connoisseur because she's so in it, like you and I are. But like once it starts actually playing out on television, it's like you're a horrible reality TV star. I would hate to see you on my screen. But Ryan, I want to ask you one last question before we sign off. What are your dark energy objects or persons and light energy objects or persons? I'd be so curious to know.
Well, object. Okay, so I'll start with the light energy first. Is that
Okay.
this is so TikTok coded, unfortunately. I'm so sucked in. I'm not good at making TikToks, but and in fact, I was one of those people rooting for the TikTok ban because I just want those 3 hours a night of my life back. Like, it's just like
Oh my
Love
God.
Island. I can't wait for next, I just want that hour and a half of my life back.
Yeah.
But everybody was going on about the Criterion Collection sale at Barnes and Nobles.
What's
And
that?
Criterion Collection is just it's a company that takes like classic films and they will give it like a 4K transfer. They'll get the best transfer. They'll do audio commentary tracks with the director. They'll do behind the scenes documentaries. They'll have people write essays about it. They're a company that have been around for gosh 35 years. And every year Barnes and Nobles will have a 50% off sale on their Blu-rays of Criterion Collection. And
Oh.
and I got, I'm going to show you one sec.
Wait, that's
I
so
guess
cute. That's
so. I got so, and it gets so dark covering the stuff that we do, like, which it shouldn't, but it does. So, like, when you're hearing people talk, hearing kids talk passionately about movies, stuff that have loved since I was a kid, it gets you excited again about narrative
oh.
storytelling. So, this is something I've never seen, and it made the New York Times bestseller, top 100 films. It's Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love. And I got the Blu-ray. This was in the top 10 films of the 2000s. And he has a trilogy, this Chungking Express, and I'm forgetting the other film. So I got that for $20. And then
Ryan, you're so cute.
I got David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. I've seen this before, but I wanted to see the transfer, and there's a bunch of special features to like kind of pay respect to David Lynch, the passing of him this last year. And then
Wow.
this is one of the best movies. If you've never seen this, I know it was a long time ago, but man, this holds up. Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. This is such a amazing film that I remember the first time watching this. God, I saw this late in life, like 17 or 18 years ago. And I thought, oh, this is going to be like an art house film. And my God, this story pulls you in. And Spike Lee's artistry is so on display. The colors, the visuals, and just the message. I think now more than ever, that really stands out to me. And then, of course, the Before trilogy by Richard Linklater. If Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight, they're three
Wow.
perfect films that have been filmed over the last 20 years about a romance that started on a train ride, and you see their relationship over 20 years, and it's just a beautiful, if you're looking for something
What?
romantic and beautiful. So that is my good energy, like reminds me of why I love other things than just reality TV, and that is
Yeah.
pop culture. But man, watching all these kids on TikTok discover movies, it's so inspiring.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so
So
wholesome.
it's not, well, I mean, but like, I mean, there's big themes in these films, but my God, it makes you remember that there are people out there making real things and like providing this like different experience and in just this artistic, I don't know, it's really exciting to see other people's visions. So that's the light energy. And then
Yes.
my my dark, well, it's so hard not to go dark, but my dark energy, I was that well. Listen, my first dark energy was literally because Sophie was talking last week or a couple weeks ago about never picking the right line at the airport in TSA.
Oh yeah.
And my dark energy, I was thinking, is that we went to Joshua Tree this 4th of July, and it's like the people that have never been taught the rules of the road of like if if you want to be in the fast lane, you don't go, you move over. If you're driving 75 and a 75, that doesn't mean you get to stay in the fast lane. You
Right.
need to move over to the right lane, and then you can go back once the car that is faster than you goes forward. It's a
Right.
very basic premise that I feel like a lot of ego is in car driving for a lot of people, where they're like, no, I'm going the speed limit. I'm going to stay in this lane. I'm like, you mother effer, get out of this lane.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like that's me
Right.
because I'm like a slower driver.
And no, and overall, dark energy is just Love Island in general. It's like the island from Lost. There's something so dark about the Fijian island right now that it needs cleanse. We need Dodie in there with her flip-flops and her
And her
incense to
sage.
like sage to cleanse that island. It didn't hit this season. So we've got a week
Yeah.
more of this and I'm scared. Like I'm scared
Me
by the end of
too.
this week the island's going to blow up or something. Like I
No,
just
I
feel like it's
agree.
leading to some sort of season finale that's like you'll never guess what happens on the island.
I always tell anyone who like about whenever I think about Ryan Bailey, I think about the after Scandal was unearthed, that little Mount Rushmore of Toms. Fuck it, I've been drinking. Of like
Oh,
Tom,
no, the
Tom.
Tom Tom. Maritza Lopez made me that image, and like we would keep adding Toms to that, and that's what I will say too. That's like
So funny.
I used to like find social media so much more fun, and like I would put out like snarky posts all the time, and like it's like hit or miss for me. Like sometimes I don't feel it most of the time nowadays. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you'll get on there and I'll feel something and like something will immediately make me laugh, and I'm like, oh, I'll make that. But other than that, it's just not. I just am not in a laughing mood as much as I used to be. You
Honestly,
know?
Instagram has changed too. Like it's so much more video focused, and I feel like the meme culture is a little bit less. But your memes used to make me howl, like that
Yeah.
being one of them. And then the first time
I've
I'll never let you forget it when I first had you on Xmas all years ago. Cop Without a Badge, Pillow Talk, like all of the Bravo books in the
Yeah,
background.
I got them all right there. And by the way, that's a Lala Give Them Rand and Lala pickleball paddle, the official pickleball paddle of Give Them Lala and Rand, their old podcast. And they did an episode on Vanderpump where they played
That's so
pickleball
funny.
and they had branded pickleball paddles. And I noticed that like I think like an actual company produced those, and then one of my listeners bought me one on like they found it and gave it to me, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And then, oh, by the way, and then that Rambo lunchbox you can see right there, that's Jax Taylor's Rambo lunchbox I got from his eBay page. And guys, it was like everything was so overpriced. That lunchbox from the 80s, like $40. Like it was really reasonable because I couldn't, like, there was like an
No
Anthony
way.
Bourdain poster in there that
That's
was like a
so
thousand
fucking
bucks.
funny.
That was very affordable, you guys,
You're
if
so
anybody
fucking
cares.
from Jax's eBay page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and by the way, that wasn't a recent purchase. That was years ago. I knew about Jackson's eBay page years ago. Like this is during pandemic. So this was pre the
before
Valley.
before
Like
everyone started
that's
trolling him for his eBay page.
yeah.
You're so fucking
That
funny.
was when the getting was good on Jackson's eBay page. Now it's a complete mess because as all things, we've ruined it. And now I don't even know where it is nowadays.
It's so fucking funny. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on Snark
Yeah.
Bait.
No, and by
You're
the way, I tell,
always
tell Sophie that I'm so happy for all your success. You guys are flipping knocking it out of the park. I'm so proud of Sophie. I'm so proud of you. I can't think of people more deserving. And,
oh
to all the listeners, thank you for putting up with me. Try to go kindly in the comments. I'm an old man and I have heart issues. So I'm really, and also, if you don't know, Christy will be on the pop culture roundup that we did. So if you haven't listened to Monday's
yesterday.
episode, she'll be on. We haven't done that yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be fantastic, you guys. So,
Yes, I'm really
so
excited.
go check that out. But man, I thank you so much for even asking me, and I'm just so happy for you guys.
Oh, thank you so much, Ryan. Well, yeah, if you
Oh
guys
wait, Christy,
want
what are yours? We need
Oh,
yours.
oh, my light energy okay, my dark energy object is obviously Sierra from Love Island, because fuck her. And my light energy objects, actually, now that you were talking about traffic, I love it when I need to go veer merge right and the car behind me needs to merge left. And it's almost like we see each other and we're gonna do it simultaneously.
The fact that they let us in Los Angeles drive, and I was talking about this the other day, flying cars will never exist. You think I would ever fucking trust anybody in LA to be flying a bunch of cars? Like, I would die because a car accident would happen in the sky and a car would fall on me. It would be a cyber truck. And I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm doing everything right down here on the planet. And then
No,
I've
it's
got
so
some
true.
idiot that's drunk driving in the air. The fact that, like, it's insane. It's true. You're right. It's insane.
It's drunk driving in the air. Oh my God, Ryan, you're so funny. What's your Instagram at? So bad it's good with Ryan
So
Bailey.
bad's good with Ryan Bailey, but guys, I'm just here for to be here. So you don't
He's
have to
here
support me
for
at all, but it's just awesome. And shout out to your Patreon, shout out to everything. And I'm
thank
telling
you.
you guys, this is gonna keep growing. I'm really happy. And yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
You're so
I'm
everyone always asks our most asked question is why do you guys always say trigger warning in front of
oh
Ryan Bailey?
I get it. I then got it, and I forgot. I had to text Sophie a couple weeks ago, so I was like, hey. wait, why do you guys say trigger warning again? Because I was like, because I forgot that it was like a comment on Spotify that I read. I was like, I went to leave a positive review for your podcast, and and then all of a sudden I'm like reading a comment, and the first comment I read is like, "What's this deal with Ryan Bailey?" Da 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 da. I don't even know who he is. Who cares? And I'm I I already deal with shit on my own end, and then I have to go to like support somebody and have to hear I get it. That's what I'm saying. This is a very private personal space that I've
Yeah.
interfered on, so I already
It's
understand that vibe. But just take it easy. Go easy. Go to
No,
go
I
to
know.
Sierra's page and leave a nasty comment. Don't go
I'm
here.
literally so with you. I'm super sensitive about that too. But yeah, follow us at Snarkbait Pod, patreon.com/snarkbaitpod, where we do bonus episodes every Wednesday, ad-free episodes from the main on Patreon. I'm at Christy Noel __. Sophie is Soph _Ross. Ryan is at So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.